G'day guys, Daniel here from Caravan Industry Victoria. I've got here with me today Linda Hitch from Hitch Engineering, obviously also a certified VAS engineer. So, pretty important topic, Linda. And we know it's a very common topic, particularly at the moment with all these joys of us being locked down, and we can't go overseas, but we can obviously travel around. So the topic of buying a caravan or RV and what to do and how to do it.
What size, what type, where are you planning to go? Can your vehicle tow it?
There's a number of obviously key aspects, and we'll bring up a bit of a checklist that we've created over time. But you know, really with all this, there's a lot to take in, and there's a lot of information that you want to do. So you do your research, you check out products, you come to our caravan shows, you talk to exhibitors, you talk to people to get that information. So as sort of Linda said, you know, I always get the question, if you were to buy a caravan, what would it be? And my always response is, well, it depends what you're going to do. It's not, there's no set particular product or type. It's really for you.
Yeah, and it depends on people's style. Are they glamping, or are they really sort of roughing it? You know, we tend to do light and rough it. But that's our preference. Again, it's what you're accustomed to and what you prefer.
Whereas,
whereas
I know my wife has to be the luxury side, so we've got to go glamping as we put it, Linda. All right. So what we might do is we'll bring up our Go Make Some Memories consumer website that's been developed some time ago. It's a consumer brand. We're obviously heavily on Facebook, Instagram, and the social media channels around this as well. But we've probably got some tips as we go across to consumer information, and this is where we've created some checklists around weights and all that. Now, we'll talk about these throughout the conversation of buying, as we've put here, the perfect caravan or RV. But you come back to have a look at some of these you know, information here to help you. So I'll just bring this up in another tab, so I might have downloaded it. But I'll let you kick it off, Linda, and sort of we start to talk about buying the right caravan and RV to suit yourself.
Okay. So I think first and foremost, you need to understand what you're towing the caravan with. So if you're towing with the BT50 or a Land Cruiser, you need to know what your gross capacity mass is for that, which means the weight of your vehicle as well as the weight of the caravan. There's no point buying a vehicle that can only tow a 2-ton caravan and you go buy a 3-ton caravan. That's not going to work. So you need to really be realistic with what your boundary is. Some people buy the caravan first and then go, right, what do I tow this with now?
It's interesting you say that too, right? Because we've sort of talked about it in the past, and I've sort of been quoted as saying, don't worry about what you're towing it with. Now, the reason I say that is, if you want a caravan, go and get it and then sort your tow vehicle out. Obviously, the tow vehicle is important. We get that. But what's interesting, Linda, we're doing a survey at the moment, and we're sort of getting up between 60 and 70%. People buy their caravan first, and then they sort out their tow vehicle. You know, don't let, you know, unless, you know, obviously, depending on each of your certain circumstances, you know, you buy the caravan that suits your needs, and that could be, you know, might need a new car if that's what you want to do.
I think you really do need to do a lot of research, and like I said, be realistic. If you do prefer, you know, just long drives out into the country somewhere on you know, bitumen, then you don't need an off-road caravan. If you're looking at an off-road, if you prefer the off-road, off the beaten track, you'll need something that's designed for that.
Correct. And I think that you sort of touch on here, it's your lifestyle. So how do you tend to use your caravan and RV or tent? Because that could be good too. You know, short trips, family holidays, remote, rugged travel, extended retiring, touring. So pending what you're going to do with it will determine what type of product you'll be drifting in. You know, you
Correct.
can see in the background here of the image, it's probably a bit difficult for some, but you know, you've got like a toy hauler here where you go traveling,
Yep.
and that could be a
Yep.
weekend, but that could be a longer
Yep.
trips. You got,
Yep.
you know, bunk vans here, you know, which sort of leads in, you know, how many people are going to take. Now, some people want to leave the kids and grandkids at home, so you might not want that, you know. But, you know, you've got internal living of your product, but then exterior living as well. So you need to think about who you want to be taking with you in that. And then, you know, as you, sorry, I'll let you.
I was just going to say, it's probably worth mentioning here that the caravan you buy when you're a couple may not be the caravan you end up with in the future, unless it's something that is well over-specified for a you know, sleeping berth of 2. So, and again, and maybe the caravan won't give you the opportunity to increase your payload. So yeah, you may have 1 or 2 through your life, because your lifestyle changes compared to a couple as opposed to a family.
Yeah,
and again, retirement as well.
Yeah, it's a great point to make, because a lot of people make start at the tent, or what's known as a tent trailer, camper trailer, and then they sort of get, oh, you know, I've enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I want some solid walls down, and I want a shower, and they move into popped ups, caravans, expanders, and the like, toy haulers, and you know, you sort of go through the life cycle of the products as your lifestyle changes too.
And that's going to affect also your demand on that caravan. So you know, even if you're looking at long-term camping and caravanning, you'll need to have provision for you know, full tanks of water, whereas others who are doing short stints won't do that, and they'll probably go to a caravan park and be connecting on there, which means you have more payload for personal effects. You know, the good china comes out because you don't need to haul water, you know, so it's about how you use that.
Oh, I think that sort of ties into here with the level of comfort that you desire, you know, how long you're going to trip, but you know, what are you prepared to spend? And this is always the dollar question that plays a part. But what people need to take into consideration is you might see your base product, but there might be add-on additional extras that you might want to do. So, you know, a lot of the vans might come with a standard suspension, and you want to update that because you want to go more off-road. Or, you know, so you've got to take that cost into your considerations as well. You know, you can also hire and all that sort of stuff around it. So, you know, what we sort of said here, would you be prepared to consider an alternative option? Should your budget be a limiting factor? So you've got to sort of, you know, weigh it up. You know, you might start at a tent trailer instead of a caravan, and you can sort of go through those journeys as you sort of touched on there, Linda.
Yeah, and I mean, that's probably a good way to go as well, where you slowly work out what your preference will be by just sort of like getting your feet wet in like a camper trailer type of thing. That's a great idea for a novice.
Yeah, correct.
Because they may find that they might be happy with that level of, you know, caravan. Others might go, no, I need a lot more, more appointments to it.
And you can sort of see here some of the questioning, and these are pre-qualifiers to get you thinking, right? So, you know, what would you consider more added comfort and luxuries? Should you be traveling for extended periods, which we sort of talked about? Would you lash out and buy bigger stuff? Does your current vehicle have the towing capacity, which we sort of touched on? How many beds would you consider you need, and what type? Because there's all these different types. You know, double beds, single beds, island beds. You know, air mattresses, swags. There's all the different types. What do you need in a kitchen? Because there's all those different types. So that's your cooking facilities. What would you be looking for? Now, there's inside, outside with those. You know, toilet and shower. Are you happy to? You know, do you want them, or are you happy to? You know, you can buy portable ones and things like that. You know, it depends on your needs and what you're trying to do.
That's correct. Yeah.
You know, how intensive would you like to set up? So, you know, obviously your campers and the you know, tent trailers and the like have a lot of more setup time. You know, people upgrade because of those. So you take that into consideration. You know, is your caravan and RV simple to position and level? Because obviously the bigger, the harder, all that sort of stuff as well. To move it around and set it up. you know, this is something that always shocks me, right? People don't think about ceiling height and internal height around what you need, but also then that relates to when you store it, right? So that's what the old pop tops used to be for, to fit under garages.
That's correct.
So you've got to be thinking about those aspects as well. So then we sort of go into a checklist, Linda, and I'll sort of let you run through, you know, sort of the manufacturers and sort of these aspects in the checklist.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you know, the money you spend on a caravan, you want to make sure that it is meeting all the requirements, and you want to make sure it's of a certain quality and that it'll last you for whatever duration you're looking at. So in relation to the manufacturer, you do, as we've mentioned about a lot of the Australian standards on gas, electricity, the drawbar, chains, coupling, shackles, and so on, suspension, brakes. You want to make sure that the manufacturer meets the Australian design standards, so all the ADRs. Also have a look at the warranty. Not meeting the warranty conditions will void your warranty, so that's something that you want to make sure you understand and that you're able to facilitate that. The other issue is serviceability. Do they have a strong network of service repairers type thing? Because you will fundamentally come across some issues with your caravan just through wear and tear that need to be rectified. And obviously servicing to ensure that your warranty is still sufficient. So they're absolutely critical.
Yeah. So you sort of your chassis and suspension, you know, what you're looking to do, door seal, ventilation, undercarriage, you know, it's appropriate to have the prevention of water and dust ingress around, you know, your products, and is it suitable, you know, save you a lot of time cleaning, as we sort of put there, but also safety critical as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
and also, sorry, just in relation to the checklist, obviously, how well the caravan is appointed will depend on your budget. So if you're looking at some, let's say, off-roading caravans, they're obviously going to require a lot more preventative or protective items, which will increase the cost of your caravan. So, I mean, be realistic. Don't go buying a caravan that's only suitable for graded surfaces and think, oh yeah, it'll be fine for off-road activities. It won't be fine, and it will fail at some point, and you've just wasted your money.
Yeah,
so
correct.
Absolutely understand what you're purchasing.
Yeah, correct. So then, you know, your annexes and your awnings, if you want that protection from the outside, which is sort of comes off the side of the caravans. Your bedding we sort of talked about, so your different types of mattresses. You know, what add-ons do you want? There's a huge range of additional options that you can get aftermarket. So, you know, what you want to do. And then on-road, off-road, Linda, this is a great topic in itself and what you want to do. So I'll sort of let you talk about, you know, sort of how people design them around on-road or off-road use. You know, typically people think that if they've got checker plate down the side, they're an off-road caravan. They're not. That's a more of a look. So I'll let you sort of talk about how engineering-wise they should design it.
So I think it's very important to talk about the different styles of caravan that we have. There's obviously your graded roads, which you'd be towing to and from caravan parks, where you'll have some gravel surfaces, but again, you'll be going at speeds of about 5 or 10k. Generally, that's what it's restricted to in caravan parks, but on the whole, you'll be on freeways or sealed surfaces. Caravans that are designed for that won't have a lot of the stone guards. It will still have some of the checker plate on the side, because as you're driving on the freeway, you will still come across stones being flicked up from the vehicle in front or the vehicle coming in the opposite direction. So you will be protected to some degree. However, as you go up in the next level, where you are looking at some of the off-road caravans that aren't really typically off-road, where you're able to submerge some of it in water. This is probably more like very shallow water level crossings where the seals won't be tested for water ingress, but it will have more range of checker plate. You'll have some element of stone guard. You'll have some shrouds or protection underneath the chassis. It's also worth mentioning there that sometimes the construction is slightly different as well. The frames, as you progress, when you get to true off-road, where you can actually do some river crossing, the sealing mechanism is far tighter, the suspension's higher, so you've got more ground clearance. The frames are generally not your wood frames, it's more steel frames. So there's a lot of elements there to be aware of.
Yeah, for sure. So then obviously making sure they've got the right safety features and, you know, there's additional options and stuff like that as well around, you know, weight distribution and, pardon me, like ESC, stability controls and the like, but we sort of touched on a couple of other topics and key requirements around gas detector, fire extinguisher, but, you know, electrical requirements, gas detectors, water purifiers if you're after it, you know, the locking of the doors, the window locks, you know, they're coming with jacks, spare tyres, you know, tyre changing accessories. There's some of those critical safety aspects that you might want to make sure when you're buying them to be safe. Now, you can buy some of these aftermarket, but you obviously got to make sure it's designed to suit your product. Probably another consideration, you talked about it before, is weight, and then if you need a different license to tow, because some of those big motorhomes, you need a different license.
They're over 4.5 tons, so you need a heavy, you need to be able to grab a license for either a heavy rigid or a medium rigid, light rigid. Your normal your car license will not cut it for anything over 4.5 ton.
Correct. I guess, and we talked about buying and, you know, which one and where, but the place of purchase, you know, your dealerships and the reputable brands sort of comes back to that part because, you know, private sales fraught with danger, also private sellers and all that are fraught with danger, so you want to buy from reputable businesses probably covers that. So, you know, as a summary here, we sort of said, you know, what are you trying to do? Does it suit your needs? What type you're after, which is sort of, you know, your different aspects. The weight, and does it match your tow vehicles? Does it meet your requirements in terms of payloads as well? Because you might want to take a lot of things with you. Your budget obviously comes into it. Your design and flair, so everyone's individual. Everyone likes things, but what's probably important is most manufacturers have different color ranges as well. Some will have limited, some will have more. So that will also affect your decision making on that. Then when you go to inside is your beds, your cooking facilities, your fridge, and if it's the adequate size, you know, we all like to have a few drinks and stuff like that. Some people, so they've got to make sure it's got the appropriate. Then your entertainment system, what you're looking for. What probably coming into that these days is also Wi-Fi and connectivity, things like that, internet, air conditioning if you want it, if you don't want it, heating, cooling, bathroom facilities, you know, how much bench space, you know, for cooking and organising and stuff like that, how much seated area, your furnishings inside and what types, because there's a heap of different leather and cloth and wool and cotton and things like that. You know, then having the appropriate facilities around your electrical in terms of power points and 12-volt points and USBs now and, you know, all those types of, you know, TV points.
What I find interesting, if you compare caravans now to yesteryear, the level of appointment is mind-blowing as to the finish. Whereas sort of you look at your house and your kitchen, you go, wow.
You look at some of the kitchens and even, you know, now that we're getting along a lot further, but, you know, I remember when I first started early 2000s, it was typically a pop-top, it was a small caravan. You might have a stove?
If you're lucky,
which was a griller, which you used to slide your toasted sandwiches in, and then you had the stove top. You had a microwave on some, not all, and you had, some of them was a CD player back in those days, and a bed, and that was about it, and a sink, and that was about it.
It was very, very barren.
Air conditioners were rare. Toilet showers were rare. You know, it's just changed immensely. So when we go to the outside is your annex and water tanks, is when you talked about how much you want to carry in it, probably links to your gas bottles. Your window sizes to get the appropriate lighting in that you want. And then also the types, because there's so many different types of windows as well. Your chassis requirements, suspension brakes, tyres, chassis design and strength to suit your needs. Solar now is becoming big. Obviously, appropriate storage areas and the insulation in your product and where it's insulated. It's no different to a home. Everyone sort of does it slightly different. So you sort of, and there's different types of materials. External tables, so if you want areas outside, but also your outside cooking areas as well.
Yeah.
So that's probably the list that we've put together, which probably doesn't clarify what product we would buy, Linda, but it gives people the starting point to think about the process of that.
Absolutely. And I think something that's worth mentioning here, if you do look at purchasing a caravan and let's say it doesn't have the external table that you like or something of that fashion, a lot of those are available in an aftermarket capacity. However, whatever you add after it's come out from the manufacturer, that weight will essentially come off your payload. It's something that we take it for granted because we're in the industry. However, there are people who don't know that, and they just think you can add a bike rack, or if you add an extra tank, it just gets added. Well, the weight of that item needs to come off somewhere.
Yeah,
you need to make that accommodation. It's
a very, very good point, Linda. And, sort of how I try to describe it is you go into a car yard or you go in to look at a caravan and you're looking at a product and it will have certain options and fittings on it. Now, when they say, the normal weight of this, that might not be that particular van, it might be the base. And then the one that's on display might be specced up and have a few more options, so the weight's a little bit heavier. So every item that you're going to fit is going to add weight. Now, you either take it from, you do two things. You either take it from your payload, that means your payload will get reduced, so what you can take with you will get reduced, or you've got to upgrade your caravan as well. So that might mean the suspensions, couplings, chains, and the like, depending on how far you go. And I saw one of the last pictures had a bike on the back, so if you're going to take a motorbike, quad bike, as the picture was, you need to then make sure the weight of that product is inadequate in your payload as well. So
yep, that's right.
Anything you add is going to be considered. So
no, that's correct.
I know, Linda, we talk about this a lot. We always get asked about, buying caravans and then all that sort of stuff. It plays there's a number of key factors, and we've sort of tried to, everyone's different. It's only different to buying a house and, the layouts of the house and single story, double story, that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Apartment living, everyone's different. So it's important to embrace that. And that's why our industry is great for that, because it caters for pretty much everyone's needs.
Yeah.
There's a product out there, you just probably got to find it, I guess, is probably the best way.
I think I get a lot of questions about why has the manufacturer only provided 450 kilos of payload or 500 kilos? And the way I explain it is this: the manufacturer can only provide you with a certain array of usage of that particular caravan. You will use and load that caravan differently as to someone else.
Correct.
But they can't customize it for a specific type of person. It will be more general. And like I said earlier, some people won't do free camping, whereas others might.
Yeah.
So they need to be able to provide you with that ability to do it. However, then you'd be using it the way you see fit.
Correct. And I think what's important is this is why you got to speak to the, don't just believe what you see in front of you. Go and speak to the salespeople and the reps and the dealers and the like to get an understanding of what you can do with those products. You might want something different. They may or may not be able to do it. Everyone's different in terms of the manufacturers. But, the van that's on display that you see at a show or at a yard and stuff like that, you might want something else. So you should ask the question whether that's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Have the dialogue and look around. Do a lot of research.
Yeah,
it's just like before you buy a house, you do a lot of research. Same with your car. You don't just buy the first thing that comes across your path. So.
And just because there's a colour inside that van that you don't like, on most occasions you can change that. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's flexible in that regard. So keep an open mind when you're buying it. But probably keep to your core values about what you're trying to do and where you want to go. And you might not know what you want to do, but you get a product that would sort of suit the things you think you would want to do. So that's sort of probably the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
So hopefully that's given you guys some information about, buying that perfect caravan or RV. We probably didn't answer the question of what we would buy, but they will, your lifestyle and everything dictates that. So,
Yeah.
Obviously got the checklist on there. So if you've got any, you want to get that, it's on the gomakesomememories.com.au website. Also, our members are on there if you wanted to see those businesses that are a part of us and work with us. So I don't know about you, Linda.
Ask questions. I mean, this environment for the show is perfect to ask questions. Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
And see whether or not it's something that they can do for you.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. All right. Well, that probably wraps it up for this topic, Linda. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
It's always a funny topic, but we always get asked it a number of times. But hopefully we'll enlighten them a little bit today.
Hopefully.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
To some of our